Welcome to the Inner Champions podcast. Would you like to promote your business so the world can find you? If so, follow us at Inner Champions Podcast on Instagram. Lastly, follow our current sponsors Tissot Enchanted Trinkets on Instagram and The Real Talk with Jordyn.
To welcome you back to the Inner Champions podcast. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a couple of things. If you've yet to do so, please follow us on social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at Inner Champions Podcast. Also, if you want to get in contact with the show, maybe you want to be on the show, maybe you have show ideas, etc., please reach out to me via email at coachescornerradioshow@gmail.com. And last but not least, please leave good ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and any other platform you might be listening on. Helps push out the show, helps get the show more noticed. Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope you're having a fantastic day, afternoon, morning, early morning, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to the Inner Champions podcast for segment 4, season 3. This will be the final segment in this series of episodes. I hope you have enjoyed every other episode up until this point. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 2 words of change the culture and trust the process. Again, another set of words that explain themselves to me. It takes care of itself, but with the joy of them being able to take care of themselves, it will just make it easier for you to remember or hope to remember. The first one we're going to talk about today is culture. And more times than not, this one's really hard to build. To be honest with you, haven't had, I don't want to say too good or, level of, success with the culture part. But at the same time, I have, because I feel that with the level of consistency that I've been able to show myself, per se, and the few other people around me, is the level of consistency that I've been able to, instill within myself and, within others and everything like that. But for me, culture is just about, kind of the baseline of, how you want things, or how this is more or less where your envision comes into play, in my opinion, and how you sell it to your team. But with doing all of that, really for me, where the culture begins is you tell that to your team, how you want them to become, what you want them to do, how you want them to represent themselves and everything like that. But for the bigger part of culture for me is, so I'm the person telling them how I wish things should be or want to be, and, hold the level of standard that I do. But with being that, am I able to represent that level of standard, level of culture, level of, resemblance, sorry, tough word for me there. How well am I able to continue to represent what I'm basically preaching or telling my team or telling my, business manager, or if I'm the lead of a certain entity in a business, how am I able to share the characters, but also put those characters into play in my everyday situation, everyday life? And character is a big one, and it is one that I feel in not enough, I'll just say, schools or programs or functions that I've been involved in or been a part of with. They don't practice it enough. And yes, you do have to, in my opinion, again, have to practice culture. You have to be a good representative of culture. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that you can tell yourself or your staff or your peers or the people that you work with, that okay, this is my level of standards. But again, with all of that, and going back into a level of non-negotiables that we've talked about before, is I just feel that you can practice this culture. You can be a good representative of, again, you preach it, but can you live it? Can you live up to what you preach? Can you mold uh, around what you preach? Can you again show those traits, represent that, and then over time it just becomes a culture, and it becomes, and when it starts developing into this culture, and you begin to build that culture around your brand, I feel that it also just becomes another piece to the puzzle, becomes another moving part that you practice every single day, within yourself, within your coaches, within your managers, within your leads, within your whatever part of business you're in, or wherever you want to take this and use it as the example, and the outline of where you want to become, or where you want your life to become. Because remember, with me doing all these different episodes and different things, it's not necessarily about how did I do this, but it's also to share these examples so that you can take them away from this podcast and use them in your everyday life. So that's just the baseline, really, and the tapping into how to change your culture, why it's kind of important to change the culture, and what it's good for when you do change the culture, and the outcomes that you get from changing the culture. But again, with everything, you have to do it, the right way, and there's never really a right way to do it. Again, you just have to set your boundaries, set your foot down, and say we're going to do this, and let it be done. And the people that want to follow into this culture are going to stay, and the people that don't, they're going to absolutely bounce and get out. And again, this isn't practiced enough. I don't see this enough in the real world situation. It needs to come back. I've fought for it for years. It's a dire need, and people have to want it more. And now let's introduce one of the favorite words of this episode, or this even podcast, I think that I've yet to use. And I know to this point I've used quite a lot, and there's a lot to absorb and write down. And hopefully you guys have a notebook or can take some mental notes and remember just one piece out of any episode is the most important. But again, I'm going to speak very passionate about this next one, and that is trust the process. And really, again, how you instill your boundaries, how you instill your non-negotiables, how you instill your standards, this will come into play, because it is all about the process. It is all about the learning curves within the process. It is all about the good, the bad, and the ugly within the process, and I mean that quite literally. This is just a huge one for me. I've always said it. I've always been a representative of it, of trust the process, don't cheat the process, those kinds of characters, those kinds of things. Like I said, for episodes and episodes and series of series, and it repeats itself. But just don't cheat the process. Don't trust the process. It speaks for itself. The process is so key. And again, when you have those lumps, and when you have the good, the bad, and the ugly, don't go away from the process. The process is so valuable in so many different aspects, in so many different ways. You can look at it just like it says, the good, the bad, the ugly. You can look at the good side of the process, you can look at the bad side, you can look at the ugly side. And within the process, there will be all of these phases. And I can't wait to open up more about, per se, this has been like the better side of things. Again, this is how to, set your self up to, become a champion in any phase that you want to take this set of episodes and set of podcasts to, and you can use to your behalf. By all means, go for it. I hope that I'm able to impact at least one individual who listens to these episodes and to this podcast. And it's been a passion of mine, like I said, kind of beforehand, And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off onto a rant here, but this is going to conclude this series of episodes. So I kind of have to kind of fill in and have some fill-ins and whatnot. But anyway, it just, this is allowing me to reach another level of where I can help or hope to help you guys out there as individuals, student athletes, former coaches, current coaches, etc. But back on track, the process to me, again, within this, and I think you guys need to include it in some of your hashtags, is to trust the process. However the process goes, trust it, buy into the process, live it, preach it, everything, eat it up. And again, if you continue to do these tasks or these segments repeatedly and consistently over and over and over and over and over again, they will eventually pay off for themselves. The certain words that you use, as far as, going with, let's just say, for example, going within your post, again, that's something you'll see every day. Consider your social media platforms, is what we talked about in several episodes, is your vision board. What you post on your social media is what you represent, what you share, and that's what you back up, and that's what you're behind. So with that being said, also with, how we talked about months ago now, a vision board and how important a vision board is, I'm going to take the extent to tell you how you proceed yourself on social media. That's an extension of your vision board. So if you want the, ugly or the bad to be out of that picture or out of that process, because that's what we're talking about here, be careful what you post on social media. But at the same time, if you use the social media as an extension of your vision board, understand, there's potential repercussions for everything you do. And remember, it's a part of the process. And if you're okay with that and you can trust within yourself that this is a part of the process and this is how you need to express yourself and this is how you need people to understand your life situation, your life, then use it. Use social media for that. Use that extension of that vision board for that, because it's part of the process. It's something that you're going through. It's something that, is important to you and how you utilize it. So that, again, that's a brief idea on the trust the process. Again, trust the process, live in the moment, don't cheat the grind. These are all little key things that I use. Again, this is going to wrap up this season and this set of segment of words. I hope you guys can gain something from this. I hope you guys can learn. I'm going to be putting some twists and turns on any more episodes that come out from this point on. I don't know how it's going to end up. I don't know what the twists and turns are going to be. We are well into 2026 at this point. So just be patient with me, and probably by the time this episode gets launched, we'll have better episodes out. The mic situation is, becoming better, and I'm liking it. I'm still enjoying what I'm doing for you guys, or hope to do for you guys here at the Inner Champions podcast. A couple things before I leave. I just want you guys to understand that the next set of episodes or series, or however I decide to label them as, is going to be more into now my personal situation, more about my personal life. Up until this point, I've really tried to, stay away from that. I've really tried to just focus on how to get you guys better. But in the very beginning, and I'm not going to waver from this, I told you I'm going to show you or explain to you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because, with wanting to be a champion of any trait in your career or your life, or, just representing that title is very challenging in its own ways. And we are going to start opening that and developing that and discussing that. And now it's going to be how I've overcome some of the backlash, the good, the bad, and the ugly of holding this level of title or account, representation. I'm not one for title. I don't like that. Yes, it's a great honor when you get represented the title, but I'm not here for title entitlement. I'm not here for, he's got the title, so he's the one. That I'm a team player. I am a team player. But we'll get more into that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this podcast up until this point. Like I said, we're well into 2026. I'm not trying to ramble on here. Stay tuned for updates in the Discord. If you haven't joined yet, make sure to hit the link below, and probably by this episode, the link will be available to you. Again, for in between the scenes or behind the scenes or whatever the scenes, stay tuned, and thanks for listening. I hope you gathered a lot from all these episodes for this point. I'm really, really excited to continue to bring you more, and thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing the word, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.